Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving headfirst into the pretty fast-moving world of AI and, the wider tech landscape.
It really is moving quickly.
Yeah, it can feel like just a constant barrage of news, right? So we've sifted through a whole pile of recent updates. Everything from new AI models and tools to key industry partnerships and what the community is actually talking about.
hmm
Our goal today is basically to cut through the noise, find the really significant developments, the things you should probably know about without getting totally lost in the technical jargon.
Precisely. And we're not just, reading headlines here. We're trying to get at the underlying meaning, what patterns are emerging, what might the long-term effects be,
Right.
and maybe most importantly, for someone like you listening who wants to stay informed, why does this particular thing matter?
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with some of the major players and the what interesting moves they seem to be making.
Sounds good.
One headline that really caught my eye was OpenAI partnering with Jony Ive. Jony Ive, the design mind behind so many Apple products. What's your take on that in the context of AI?
Well, what's particularly noteworthy here, I think, isn't just the big names. It's the potential for AI to move beyond our screens,
Mhm.
become really integrated into our physical world through thoughtful design. Ive's whole approach has always been about simplifying tech, making it intuitive.
Yeah, that's true.
And in the AI space, which can feel pretty complex sometimes, his focus on user experience could be absolutely crucial. Crucial for creating AI hardware that people actually want to use every day, maybe in forms we haven't even thought of yet.
That definitely sparks some interesting possibilities.
Yeah.
Okay, turning to investments. El Marina, they're known for their sort of community-driven LLM evaluations. Just got a huge $100 million seed funding round from ASIC Steinz.
Wow, 100 million.
Yeah. That seems like a really strong sign of how vital independent model assessment is becoming, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It really highlights the growing importance of having objective ways to, evaluate AI. As more and more powerful models keep coming out,
How do you tell which is best?
exactly. How do we know which ones really deliver on their promises? El Marina's community approach offers a really valuable alternative instead of just relying on what the companies themselves claim.
Right.
So this investment, it suggests a pretty significant recognition that we need this kind of impartial benchmarking, especially in this AI landscape that's just evolving so rapidly.
Speaking of new models, Mistral has been pretty active. They launched DevStral, a 24 billion parameter coding model,
hmm
and it's under the very open Apache 2.0 license. It's specifically designed for what they call agentic coding tasks. And there's a smaller version too, DevStral Small 2505, optimized for something called OpenHands. Yeah. That open source commitment feels like a big deal.
It absolutely is. Mistral's dedication to open source really broadens access to advanced AI, especially in this specialized area of agentic coding.
Can you maybe clarify what agentic coding is
Yeah.
exactly?
Sure. So agentic coding basically refers to AI systems that can autonomously write and debug code. They essentially act like an intelligent coding assistant that can sort of take initiative on programming tasks.
Okay, got it.
And that Apache 2.0 license is also really permissive. It means developers have a lot of freedom to use and even build on Mistral's work for their own projects.
Whether it's just for fun or commercial stuff.
Exactly, without too many strings attached.
It's interesting then that OpenAI also seemed to quietly release updates to their responses API.
Oh.
Yeah, and some people are suggesting this could have pretty significant agentic potential too, maybe even more than we first realized. It sounds like something that might have flown under the radar a bit.
Sometimes the most profound changes aren't the ones announced with the biggest fanfare. If OpenAI's Responses API is evolving towards more agent-like capabilities, well, that could fundamentally change how developers build apps using their models.
Enabling more autonomous systems.
Right, more autonomous, more interactive AI systems. It does make you wonder why it hasn't been talked about more widely.
And then, of course, we have Google. They're making some notable strides with Gemini Diffusion for really quick text-to-image stuff.
Low latency.
Yeah, and their new AI filmmaking tools, Flow and VO3. VO3 sounds particularly advanced. They're talking about integration of sound design, even Foley.
That's that serious.
Totally. They even mentioned the realism is improving so much that one of the few remaining giveaways in their generated videos might be the perfect pace of traffic That's such a specific detail.
That detail about the traffic is fascinating, isn't it? Because it shows how AI-generated content is now trying to tackle these subtle complexities of the real world.
It's not just visuals anymore.
Not at all. It's about mastering the nuances of physics, behavior, even down to the sound. And the focus on sound design, including Foley, the art of creating everyday sound effects for film, that adds such a crucial layer of immersion, believability, too.
Makes sense. Okay, let's maybe shift focus now and talk about Google I/O. They've been showcasing the progress since their big event earlier this year, kind of setting the stage for more announcements.
Right, building on what they showed before.
Yeah, like Gemini 2.5 Pro with its enhanced reasoning mode called DeepThink. That sounds really interesting. And Gemini 2.5 Flash, although there were hints it might have been adjusted a bit since the preview.
Yeah, the introduction of DeepThink suggests a strong push towards letting Gemini Pro handle more complex problem solving, and those potential tweaks to Gemini Flash, that just highlights the iterative nature of AI development.
Constant adjustments.
Exactly. It's always a balancing act between performance and efficiency with these big models.
One practical thing they highlighted is integrating Gemini into Google Chrome, like an AI browsing assistant. Though it seems it's for Google AI Pro subscribers in the US, at least for now. But that could really change how people interact with the web day to day.
Well, if you connect that to the bigger picture, it's all about seamlessly embedding AI into the tools we already use constantly, right?
Yeah.
Imagine having an intelligent assistant right there while you browse, helping you summarize articles, answer questions quickly, navigate complex info. That kind of integration could be a huge boost for productivity, for how we access knowledge.
And Project Astra seems to be evolving into something like a truly universal AI assistant.
That's the ambition, it seems.
Yeah, improvements in voice output, memory, even controlling your computer.
Yeah.
And they're aiming to integrate it into Gemini Live and Search. That sounds like the kind of fluid AI experience a lot of people have been waiting for.
Project Astra definitely represents that vision of a more proactive, context-aware AI. The progress in its ability to remember things and interact with your computer, those are key steps toward a real AI companion, one that understands and engages with your digital world much more naturally.
And Google's also clearly ramping up its focus on these agentic capabilities we talked about.
Right, the doing part.
Yeah, exactly. With Project Mariner, it's a research prototype, but it can apparently plan trips, order stuff online, even make reservations, all with human oversight, they stress.
Okay, the oversight part is key.
Yeah, and they want to integrate this across Chrome, Search, and Gemini. That's a significant step beyond just answering questions, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. What's particularly interesting there is the shift from AI that just passively responds to AI that can actively do tasks for you, but that with oversight bit. It acknowledges the ongoing need for human control. Verification, too, especially for actions with real-world consequences, like financial ones.
Makes sense. Now let's maybe turn our attention to the open source world for a bit. We already mentioned Mistral's Deathstroll.
Right.
But they're certainly not alone. ByteDance, the company behind TikTok, they recently released Bagel. It's a 7 billion parameter multimodal model.
Multimodal, so image and text.
Exactly. Understands and generates both. And Bagel is also under that permissive Apache 2.0 license we mentioned.
Interesting. ByteDance joining the open source push more strongly.
Yeah, though it does sound like it needs some pretty hefty hardware. Up to 40 gigabit of VRAM, that's the graphics card memory, if you run it unquantized.
Okay, that's substantial.
Yeah, quantization, that technique to shrinks the model size, brings it down to maybe 24 GB, which is still quite a bit for many people.
For sure. But Bagel's release really underscores this trend. Powerful AI models, handling different data types like text and images, becoming more accessible through open source. Those VRAM numbers just give you a sense of the computational power involved. And having a major company like ByteDance contribute like this, that's pretty significant for the field, too.
Then there's LangChain, a name many AI developers will know. They've unveiled their Open Agent Platform, or OAP.
Okay.
The goal seems to be making it easier to build and deploy AI agents without needing like a super deep coding knowledge. That feels like it could really empower more people to create sophisticated AI apps.
Exactly. The OAP aims to sort of democratize AI agent creation, letting a broader range of folks experiment and build intelligent systems. By simplifying some of the technical hurdles, it could really speed up innovation, maybe lead to more specialized, useful agents for different tasks.
And TIUAE, the Technical Innovation Institute in the UAE, they've introduced their Falcon H1 family of language models.
Falcon, yeah, I've heard of those.
This is a whole range, from tiny 500 million parameter ones up to much larger 34 billion parameter models. And they offer both base models and instruction-tuned versions. That variety is pretty interesting.
Yeah, the Falcon H1 family really shows the diversity emerging in the open source LLM space. Offering models across such a wide size spectrum lets developers pick what fits their needs and, crucially, their available compute resources.
Whether they have limited resources or are tackling big jobs.
Precisely.
Even text-to-speech, TTS, is getting more open. Unsloth now supports local fine-tuning and training of TTS models.
Oh, that's cool. Local fine-tuning.
Yeah, taking a pre-trained model and training it further on your own specific data. This puts a lot more power into the hands of individual researchers, developers in the audio space.
Unsloth supporting local TTS training is a pretty significant step. It enables much greater experimentation and customization in, a really vital part of multimodal AI. It means researchers, even hobbyists, can create and refine their own unique synthetic voices without needing huge cloud setups.
Okay, let's delve a bit deeper now into some of the, fascinating stuff happening under the hood. Model architecture, training techniques.
All right, the nitty-gritty.
Yeah. DeepSeek introduced something called GRPO, Group Relative Policy Optimization. Apparently, it's a type of reinforcement learning training AI with rewards and penalties, but it's simpler because it doesn't need a separate critic network.
Ah, okay. GRPO. That sounds like a clever simplification for training LLMs with reinforcement learning. By getting rid of the critic network, it could potentially make training more stable, maybe more efficient.
Which could lead to faster progress.
Could do, yeah. Faster progress in developing even better models.
And speaking of DeepSeek, they also share details about their DeepSeek v3 architecture. Trained on a massive scale, get this, 2048 NVIDIA H800 GPUs.
Wow. That's a lot of compute.
Right. And it uses innovations like multi-head latent attention, mixture of experts. It sounds like some serious horsepower involved.
The sheer scale of that training really highlights the immense resources needed to push AI boundaries right now. And those architectural innovations, MLA, MoE, those are key techniques letting these models learn effectively from just vast amounts of data. Helps them get state-of-the-art performance.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. There's some emerging research suggesting that the underlying structure of how different AI models represent information, the embeddings, might be surprisingly similar, maybe even mappable between different models based just on their structure alone. What could that mean?
Okay, if that research holds up, it could have pretty profound implications for transfer learning.
Transfer learning.
Yeah, basically, it might mean we can more easily take knowledge of one AI model learned and apply it to another model, even if they were trained on different data or for different tasks.
Wow, okay.
It could significantly speed up AI development and also give us deeper insights into how these models are actually, understanding the world.
That's fascinating. Circling back to visuals for a sec, let's revisit AI video and VO3. We mentioned its movie-like content, AI YouTubers.
Right.
But the sound design advancements seem particularly notable, especially its ability to accurately match spatial and surface audio. That's a level of detail you don't often hear about.
Yeah, the focus on sound is absolutely vital for truly believable synthetic media. Accurately simulating how sound behaves in space, how it interacts with different surfaces, that adds a crucial layer of realism.
It makes it more immersive.
Definitely enhances the viewer's experience, makes the AI content much more immersive. It suggests a move towards a more kind of comprehensive approach to AI video generation, not just visuals, but the whole auditory experience too.
And that point about VO3 generations losing those typical AI giveaways, with the perfect pace of traffic being mentioned as one of the few subtle indicators left. That really highlights just how fast this tech is moving. It's almost getting hard to tell what's real and what's AI.
Exactly. The fact that something as nuanced as traffic pace is now a subtle clue instead of obvious visual flaws really demonstrates the rapid progress. We're creating photorealistic, behaviorally accurate AI video now.
It suggests we're getting close to a point where telling the difference might become really, really difficult.
It certainly feels that way.
Now let's get a feel for what the AI community itself is discussing. Because it's not all just excitement about new stuff, is it?
No, definitely not. There are ongoing concerns.
One that keeps cropping up is the robustness of safety guardrails. You hear examples like Midgemma and other models being jailbroken to generate harmful content.
This highlights an absolute critical area in AI development, ensuring these powerful models align with human values that they don't produce harmful outputs.
It's a constant battle, it seems.
It is. And the fact that researchers, users are finding ways around safety measures just underscores the ongoing need for really rigorous R&D in AI safety and ethics for all kinds of models. We have to acknowledge these concerns are important discussion points.
There also seems to be this ongoing debate. Are these newer LLMs actually that much better than the last generation? People point to persistent issues like hallucinations.
Where the AI just makes stuff up, yeah.
Right. Or generic responses, bugs in code generation. It seems the improvements aren't always as clear-cut as the announcements might suggest sometimes.
It's definitely important to keep a balanced perspective. Yes, there have been significant leaps forward, but the current LLMs still face limitations. Those issues, incorrect info, unhelpful answers, coding errors, they highlight that these models are still very much under development. They need more refinement.
A more practical concern, maybe for developers and users, seems to be potential for strict API rate limits.
Yeah.
And maybe infrastructure instability when these new, more powerful models roll out.
Yeah.
That could really impact how people actually use these technologies.
Absolutely. Reliable access and predictable performance are crucial if you're building apps or services on top of these AI platforms. So concerns about usage limits, potential service disruptions, those are valid. They can hinder development, restrict practical application.
The community's also been buzzing, maybe not positively, about Perplexity AI's data collection practices, specifically around browsing data.
Data privacy, always a big one.
Yeah.
The discussions around Perplexity AI and data handling really highlight that ongoing tension, don't they, between providing personalized, efficient AI services and respecting user privacy rights. It's a critical conversation the whole industry needs to have as AI gets deeper into our lives and handles more personal info.
And finally, there's this, well, rather intriguing and slightly unappealing term that's gaining traction. AI slop.
AI slop, yes.
Seems to be generating a lot of discussion.
It's certainly a thought-provoking term. It generally refers to the potential for LLMs to inadvertently contaminate the very data they're trained on over time.
Feeding on their own output.
Sort of, yeah. Potentially leading to a decline in the quality of both the training data and the models themselves down the line. It raises really important questions about long-term sustainability and evolution if these models are increasingly trained on their own outputs or content heavily influenced by AI.
Okay, let's make one final pivot and touch on the hardware that powers all this AI innovation.
Crucial piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. The Strix Halo CPU APU apparently has an impressive 96 GB of RAM available for its integrated GPU.
96 gigs for the iGPU. Wow.
Yeah, that's a significant chunk of memory for graphics built right into the processor.
That amount of memory accessible to an integrated GPU is indeed remarkable. It signals pretty significant progress in consumer hardware capabilities, especially for handling demanding tasks like AI processing, advanced graphics, could pave the way for running more sophisticated AI models locally on more devices.
And AMD's MI300 processors seem to be performing really well on benchmark,
Yeah, they're making waves.
really establishing them as a major player in AI infrastructure, providing strong competition.
AMD's strong performance with the MI300 is absolutely crucial. It fosters a healthy, competitive AI hardware market. Having multiple high-performance options benefits the whole ecosystem, drives innovation, potentially brings down costs. Good for everyone.
There was also a more specialized but interesting point made about the value of having experience with dual GPUs,
Oh, yeah.
particularly for understanding how the PCIe bus performance affects things. Sounds like a practical insight for anyone really serious about the hardware side of AI.
That's a valuable real-world observation for sure for people working directly with AI hardware. Understanding those intricacies, how components talk to each other, like the PCIe bus in multi-GPU setups that can be critical for optimizing performance, spotting bottlenecks with demanding AI workloads.
Well, that was quite a rapid journey through a huge amount of recent AI and tech news.
It certainly was.
We've covered everything from OpenAI's hardware plans to the growing strength of open source AI, the really fascinating progress in AI video and audio, the important conversations happening in the community, and the critical hardware making it all possible. Hopefully, you're now feeling a bit more informed and maybe less overwhelmed by just the sheer volume of it all.
Yeah, we've definitely seen rapid advancements across a really wide spectrum of AI.
Yeah.
The increasing power and accessibility of open source models is a clear trend. And the progress in multimodal AI, especially video and audio, is truly remarkable.
Yeah.
And those ongoing discussions in the community about safety, performance, ethics, they are absolutely vital for responsible development. And of course, hardware keeps getting better, enabling these breakthroughs.
There were definitely some moments that stood out for me, like that detail about VO3's sound design and the perfect pace of traffic clone.
Little details that say a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just understanding the sheer scale of resources needed for training models like DeepSeek V3, it really gives you a sense of the power involved,
Absolutely. And it's important to remember how interconnected all this is, right? Hardware progress enables bigger, more complex models,
which drive new applications.
which in turn drive new applications and also raise new questions, new considerations for the field. It's a cycle.
So here's a final thought for you to maybe consider. Given this incredible pace of development we've just talked about, and the ever-increasing capabilities of AI, what fundamental shifts do you foresee? How will we interact with technology, with information, in the, say, near future? It really feels like we're on the cusp of some pretty significant changes.
It does indeed. Lots to think about.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.